I have been visiting Santa Barbara for many years for what I call workations. I go for work, but it is like a vacation because the town is so lovely. Of course, the weather and beaches are big draws. Santa Barbara's climate is temperate and generally hovers between 65 and 75 degrees, and it usually has around 300 sunny days a year, so you can generally count on great weather when you visit. I recently had another workation in Santa Barbara and was there for 3.5 days. I only had the mornings and late afternoons to explore, but I did my best to take in as much of the city and surroundings as possible. I was booked by my work at the Mar Monte Hotel, which is a lovely hotel with plenty of Spanish charm. The hotel was right across the street from East Beach. The first day I walked up and down the sidewalk along the beach and took in some of the views. There are some lovely spots for picnicking, beach volleyball, and enjoying the sunset. I especially like this grassy area with these wonderfully tall palm trees. I wandered up and down the street looking for a good restaurant for dinner and landed at Convivo, an Italian restaurant at the Santa Barbara Inn. I sat out on the patio so I could watch the sunset and was treated to some amazing food. I just love the salads in this town. Not your typical salad fare, and so colorful. The second day I got up early so I could go to my favorite beach for breakfast. Arroyo Burro Beach Park has a great restaurant, the Boathouse, that is perched above Hendry's beach. There is a huge outdoor patio as well as indoor dining and bar. I enjoyed sitting out on the patio, taking in the views, and listening to the ocean as I ate a full breakfast. I then hurried to downtown Santa Barbara and enjoyed walking down the main drag of the town, State Street. They have closed off much of the road to cars, so only bikes and pedestrians can use the road. This allows you to freely walk along both sides of the street without the hum of traffic. There are numerous shops and restaurants, although I was there so early that the only places open were serving coffee and pastries, which I did partake. Because the shops weren't open yet, it was nice to move along the sidewalk, peer into shop windows, and enjoy the architecture of the town. And I do love the architecture in Santa Barbara. They must have some strong compliance laws in the city because you don't see any modern buildings here. The city has managed to maintain its charm by adhering to these architectural standards. As you walk along the streets, there is a nostalgic feel to the town that I find appealing. Here are some of the buildings I enjoyed. There are some amazing tree-lined streets. Someone told me that these are a type of ficus tree, but I couldn't verify it. If anyone knows, please share in the comments section below. Of course, one of the reasons why California is so popular is the lush landscaping, and Santa Barbara has beautiful little gardens everywhere. Also in downtown are 2 theaters that host performing arts events. The Libero is more of an intimate theater, whereas the Granada has a large operatic capacity. Both are gorgeous theaters. At one end of State Street, near the train station, is the famous Moreton Bay fig tree. This tree is considered one of the largest of its kind and is on the California Registry of Large Trees. I didn't visit the tree on this visit, but here is a video from several years back. It is definitely massive and has an interesting trunk. If you come to Santa Barbara by train, you should definitely take a look. After work that day, I rushed to the Old Mission. The mission was built in 1787 and has a somewhat contentious past, resulting in local indigenous tribes being forced into religious conversion and servitude. The Old Mission building houses a museum that has numerous displays that tell the controversial past in detail. As you walk in the building, you immediately enter a courtyard or sacred garden. It definitely has a quiet serenity about it, with the only noise from a trickling fountain that I could hear but not see. The tour takes you through the main chapel, which is small but beautiful. As you walk through the chapel, you are deposited in another courtyard, which is a mausoleum and cemetery. There are various plaques that identify the families that are interned. Initially, it was for Franciscan friars, but later for Catholic families. From the cemetery, you are also able to view the architecture of the building, which is quintessential Spanish. On your way out of the mission, there is an obligatory souvenir shop that helps support the mission's upkeep. The setting for the old mission is really beautiful. You look up to the mountains, there's a fountain right in front, and the Mission Historical Park across the street. I saw many families enjoying the park on this sunny day. Adjacent to the mission is a picnic area and small garden labeled Monarch Way Station Project, which I assumed was constructed to create an inviting habitat for the monarch butterfly. Next to this is an olive garden that is a setting for Stations of the Cross, which are an historical collection of mosaic art depicting 12 stations portraying the Passion of Christ. I think the old mission is a must-see for anyone that enjoys learning history and wants to get an idea of Santa Barbara's past. The setting alone is worth the trip. After the mission visit, I took a drive up into the mountains to get some perspective on the town. Santa Barbara is landlocked between the mountains and the sea, which is one of the reasons that real estate is expensive and the weather is so nice. From up high, you can look down through the town to the ocean. Very pretty. On the third day, I visited the City Hall, which has a free lookout tower. I had been there before, but this time I arrived just as they were closing it. I do love this building, though. It has gorgeous carvings, sculptures, and a spacious park area in the back. I had to leave the next day and had planned to get up early and do a bit more sightseeing before I left. However, the weather didn't cooperate. There must have been some high winds throughout the night as there were palm fronds littering the roads everywhere. After breakfast, I headed out of town, but hope to be back again in the future. I have always been to Santa Barbara through work, so haven't had to purchase housing. Hotel rates are notoriously high in the city, especially during the summer months. I remember looking for a cheap hotel room about 10 years ago, and the least expensive I could find was a Motel 6 for $300 a night. I ended up staying down the coast in Ventura, which was still somewhat expensive. So if you come to visit Santa Barbara, don't expect to find any great deals on lodging. Even the Airbnbs are high. I will say, though, that Santa Barbara is full of these old-style motels, but unlike in other cities, these are very well maintained. I would suggest looking for one of these that has good reviews. For senior travelers, the town is safe and easy to navigate. There are hills, but the main area of town is flat. For solo travelers, the community is quite safe, but rather expensive, especially for one person. If you'd like to follow more of my senior and solo travel journeys, please subscribe. Cheers!